Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the A2theK Wrestling Show. We are just 12 days away from WrestleMania, and as you know, A2theKania is running wild. So welcome to the show. I am, of course, Carl, and joining me, as always, every week, he is the other half of the Middle Age Outlaws, the one and only, it's Anthony. Anthony, say hello to the people.
Good evening, one and all. What another fantastic week we've got in store, Carl. As always, we're going to have the Ringside Report. We're going to be talking about all the latest news and rumours in the world of wrestling this week.
Mm-hmm.
We will be talking through this week in wrestling, in which we're going to talk about the four big shows, being Raw, NXT, Dynamite and SmackDown. And then lastly, Carl, because we are in fact on the road to WrestleMania, and as you so rightly said, and this is A2theKania, we are going to be talking 10 greatest matches of all time. So obviously last week we covered moments. This week it's the matches themselves. So let's see what actually hit our top 10.
Indeed. But before all that, Anthony, let's kick off with our random fact of the week.
Oh, you didn't know?
And, of course, the fact this week. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, as we know him, is not, the busiest of wrestlers. He does not frequent the ring very often. His first one-on-one match was, of course, with the one and only Stone Cold Steve Austin. His second being with his son Shane. But who was his third, Anthony? Any guesses? Monumental figures.
We're talking the caliber of like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and we're talking, Shane McMahon, obviously dubbed he won the greatest wrestler in the world or whatever the fuck the cup was. So, two really high caliber wrestlers. So my guess, I would say Undertaker, someone, like that, a legend.
I mean, you're not far off. He was part of the ministry, but it was, of course, Midian, and it was on Sunday Night Heat. So, yeah, what a resume.
Random.
The more you know. And that was, of course...
You didn't know?
So, let us move on, Anthony. What have we got in the news this week?
Well, I'll tell you what we got in the news this week, Carl. We have Peacock, the new streaming service, for those who think I've just gone a bit nuts. Peacock, who have taken over the WWE's network rights in the US, have now started removing scenes that they've deemed racist. We have Logan Paul set to be involved in WrestleMania 37. We have Soulja Boy still taking shots at WWE and Randy Orton. We have the sad news that the road dog, Jesse James, is currently hospitalized. We'll talk a bit more on that shortly. We have a possible end date for the current home of the Thunderdome. We have Lance Storm reacting to the fact that the WWE network have made some significant edits. We have one Bobby Tyler signing with WWE. We have news on Aleister Black potentially returning to the ring. We have Selena Vega signing an undisclosed short-term deal. We have a surprising AEW's unsanctioned women's match losing female fans. And lastly, Carl, we have AEW superstar and, of course, friend of the show. We'll reveal it shortly, but no, I'll reveal it now, Carl. Griff Garrison, Garrison,
yes,
has got engaged, which is fantastic news, but we'll talk a bit more on that shortly as well. So, Carl, would you like to kick us off with the first of many?
Let us kick off with Peacock, of course. So, as we know, the WWE Network has found itself a new home in the US of A, moving to the NBC's streaming network Peacock. But what we have come to find is that after that move, some of WWE's product and previous shows have started to be somewhat edited or censored. So there's a couple of instances of a variety of different reasons. But one of the main reasons that are kind of coming to light is around the racial tones that have been used in previous WWE programming. So some examples of this is obviously the feud between Roddy Piper and Bad News Brown, where Piper had half kind of blackface kind of costume attire, which obviously isn't great. Another example of one which should have never ever been done in the first place, but that time that Vince McMahon sported a do-rag and going around calling people the N-word for some reason.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
You know what? this is probably a difficult topic for us to talk about, being not on the receiving end of that side of things. But when initially I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, editing stuff when no one's even fucking asked you to edit stuff. You're just trying to be fucking really woke and aware and all this. And then you mentioned what they were, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have removed those things.
I mean, maybe they should have never even done them to begin with.
Yeah, well, ideally, they should never have done those things. But yeah, maybe, yeah. I'm not even going to talk much more.
There's not much more to say.
Things are.
Yeah.
Probably best, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I believe there's some other stuff as well, some like graphic content, lewd content, certain kind of language and things like that, which have started to be edited down. No, not.
How are we gonna have any of the Attitude Era on that fucking platform if they're not gonna leave the lewd content in?
Well, exactly. It's led to the likes of Stephen Richards posting, a thing harping back to his right to censor days, and stuff like that. So making a bit of a joke out of it. But no, look, some of the stuff, in older WWE programming is, completely justified to be removed. But as you say, where is the line? We had the Attitude Era, and we had a lot of stuff which we've learned from since then. And it's like, well, if you just edit that out, you're kind of deleting a piece of history that shows that we've learned from that as well. So it's a bit of a.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like Disney, for the most, they took their stance, didn't they, of going, well, we'll put like a warning up on the beginning of our older content that says that it might depict views or whichever from a different time that aren't necessarily reflective of Disney today and that sort of thing. And yeah, I wonder on some level whether that might be the better approach to say, look, this isn't the sort of content we would approve now, but it's historical, rather than removing it. Because as you say, like, it takes that sort of element of going, like, seeing where they were to where they are now, and obviously, like you say, they learn from those things, and it does feel a bit like a race in history. But then we are talking about the reality of it is a daft entertainment show, so
yeah.
It's not like removing real history. Sorry, wrestling community, my bad. Yeah, it's a very difficult topic. I can see why some people are purists and going, you leave it on as it was. They chose to do that at the time, and like you say, that is reflective of history and the way things were back then, and put a warning up. But Peacock are in control of it, and they chose to do that.
Yeah, I mean, interesting though that there's been no mention of them removing the whole Katie Vick stuff. It even got. Let's even bring up. It's not even an item in the news. Probably our bad. We probably should have put it in. But some big congratulations go out to some of the Hall of Fame inductees this week. Obviously, Rob Van Dam and also Kane is going to be making their way into the Hall of Fame. But Stephanie McMahon congratulated Kane and made reference to Katie Vick in her congratulations tweet. So it's like, well, damn. So.
But you see, that is kind of an example of history that shouldn't be erased in a way, right? Because that's one of them things where it was cringy and really poor taste, and they could look at it and go, oh, "We do not condone. We do not condone that here at Peacock, right?" You can totally say that, right? Yep. But at the same time, WWE have poked fun at that cringeworthy storyline so much themselves that how would you get the reference?
Yeah.
Like, do you remember when we had Team Hell No going for counselling for their anger issues, and he went on this really long rant about his life, and one of the things he mentioned was about his high school sweetheart Katie Vick, and like the whole room's just mortified, and it's like that wouldn't be anywhere near as funny if you hadn't have been part of that really cringy storyline back then as well,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
On some level, that I think that is an example of something that although it's in poor taste, it should stay because it's relevant to some of the jabs they have now.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
But interesting. I wonder what else they are going to be removing, censoring going forward. So, yeah, interesting topic. Bit of polarising one, but some stuff we can definitely say it should be. And we'll be glad to see the back of it.
I'm gonna flip me headlines around a little bit because the next one I'm going to mention is relevant to this. So I'm going to mention Lance Storm. Now, Lance Storm has taken umbrage to these edits. But the reason he's taken umbrage to them is not because he's going, well, no, we should keep all the racist content. We love it. He's saying, basically, because they've edited a significant amount of stuff. But what he's noticed is they've edited or the edits that Peacock have made their way back to the WWE network. So if you're a UK fan, or if you're from Canada, as much as Lance Storm is, you get to pay the same stupidly expensive price compared to Peacock, and just get WWE content. But now you get the edited WWE content. So you get edited down versions of what you did have a couple of months back. You get the same, what is it, $11.99, $9.99? I can't remember. And you don't get all that lovely NBC content either. So
yeah, like, so I think if you want the premium version, it's $9.99. But if you don't mind the ads, it's $4.99. But I think they have like an introductory offer on at the minute. You get it for like $2.99 or something like that, which is dirt cheap.
Yeah, but yeah. So he's sort of he poked fun at it on his Twitter, just saying basically like that's they're paying the same, getting just the WWE content, and now getting it edited on them as well. Because obviously before Peacock, it was all there to enjoy. So he makes a good point, and I don't know how heavily it's been edited. There's been a couple of really obvious ones, as you mentioned, that were edited out and for understandable reasons. And I've not looked into like exactly every single edit. I don't even think people have identified that yet, because you just kind of have to watch the content and go, hang on, that's missing. So, I don't know how heavily it has been changed, but yeah, I mean, I can take his point. Maybe make the WWE network cheaper. I'm not saying that because we buy the WWE network and we've no option to have Peacock, but make it cheaper. Why not?
Definitely.
That's my next one.
You may as well lead in just for the ease of the graphics on the next one.
Apologies.
That's all right.
Go to my next one.
Yeah.
Sorry, you lost me there. Okay, so my next one, Carl. Sorry, I totally forgot about your edit. And apologies to anyone watching, because Carl puts a lot of time into these graphics, and I just went, I'm going to jump forward 6 or 7.
That's cool. I've just deleted Lance Storm's face, so that's the only thing we're going to deny you from on the visual medium. You will not get to see his beautiful face. You're making edits
now, damn it. So my next one, Carl, is the fact that Logan Paul is. We don't know what capacity yet. I think SmackDown made it very clear that he was going to be. Was it SmackDown? Yes, it was. Was it? It might have been.
It was.
Anyway,
yep.
I think they made it very clear that he's going to be involved in this storyline, but we don't know at what capacity yet. But it's heavily rumored from one Meltzer that the 2 celebrities for WrestleMania this year are in fact going to be Bad Bunny and Logan Paul. So Logan Paul is going to be involved in the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens storyline, and the heavily suggested rumor at this point is that he might be a special guest referee. And this is, I don't have a lot to say on it, Carl. Do you know why? Because I'm old as fuck and I've no idea who Logan Paul or Bad Bunny are. So, I've been told the celebrities. That's awesome. And yeah. No, joking aside, like, I don't watch a lot of Logan Paul's content. I'm sure he doesn't watch a lot of mine either. And I'm not sure what sort of what's the word, passion he has for the wrestling business. But for me, I'm just looking purely at the match he's going to be involved in some capacity. And I'm like, I kind of don't want it, and that's no offense to him, but like, I'm happy to see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have a match. They so deserve, and I'll talk about this on SmackDown, but they so deserve to have a match with each other at Mania. They came up together and like the best of friends, and I'm made up for them in that sense. And I'm just like, I don't really need any celebrity involvement. Just let them have the match. It's going to be a good match. But that's the only gripe I've got.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a shame that if he's going to get involved, it is going to be in that match, because if there's any match that doesn't need a level of celebrity involvement, it's that one. Like, they've got the history, the story writes itself between them two.
How the fuck we have Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman booked, and no one's going to have any involvement in that fucking train wreck of a match?
Well, you never know. We could get Dabba-Kato, yeah.
Whatever. We're not going to get a fucking thing. We're going to get Shane O'Mac's little punches, and then he's going to jump off something. Anyway, how did I get onto this?
I have no idea. Ants rants. But no, so the Paul brothers, Logan Paul and Jake Paul, I think they found like notoriety as YouTube sensations potentially, but they've also made their way into the boxing realm quite recently. Well, so I know that, like,
because I'm not down with the kids, but my nephew was a fan of like KSI and the like, and he'd mentioned that I think Logan Paul had a quite a is it famous? Quite a popular YouTube bout of boxing against KSI.
Mhm.
So I think this is where the sport element has come from, because they seem to be getting more heavily involved in the boxing world. But again, I'm not overly familiar with how how involved or how much they love the wrestling world. But I know they've done a fair bit of boxing at this point, haven't they? Both of them.
Yeah, definitely. I think his brother's set to box Ben Askren of former UFC fame in like the coming weeks as well. So they're definitely
How
both.
random.
I know,
Like, you
mental.
have a UFC guy and a YouTube guy, and they have a boxing match. Like,
Well, it's funny really because Ben Askren is a wrestler and he has terrible stand up. So it might actually be a fair fight, which is interesting. But
yeah, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Because it like. Again, apologies because I don't know anything about them. I imagine they've done a lot of training in the boxing world, but like I suppose it makes sense when you're coming up that you're not going to go up against like I don't know Mayweather or other relevant boxers.
Well, you say this, but I'm pretty sure Logan Paul did call out Mayweather.
Didn't I?
He did. Like honestly, he called out Mayweather. I think they were close to agreeing something as well, but I don't think anything ever did get agreed that I'm aware of anyway. But.
I'm going to show my ignorance here, Carl. But is it Mayweather who knocked out McGregor?
Well, yeah, it was like a TKO, but yeah, it was. I don't know whether Mayweather was toying with them or what, but it just goes to show the difference in cardio going over 12 rounds versus going over 3 rounds or 5 rounds in the UFC. Because McGregor just gassed out towards the end, but to be fair, he put on a decent, decent effort there. But he just, he tired.
At the end of the day, realistically, he's a great talker. So he probably convinced a lot of us that he was going to do it. But the reality of it is he's not a boxer, so he was very limited straight away, wasn't he? Like,
well, exactly.
Can't take him to the ground, can't do submissions, can't throw any kicks in. You just have to use your fists now. So realistically, you go, okay, yeah, he was going to win, wasn't he? But at the time, we were hyped and we thought he might have done it.
We were hype. But yeah, so interesting. Logan Paul is going to be at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess. But speaking, Anthony, of celebrities mixing and meshing with wrestling, Soldier Boy, he's back at it again. So him and Orton had a bit of a Twitter spat a while ago, where basically Soldier Boy said something along the lines of it's as fake as WWE. Orton took a bit of umbrage to that, and so they had a bit of a back and forth. And Soldier Boy is at it again. So he was he tweeted out obviously about that, and then obviously Orton tweeted back at him and showed him like the battle scars, if you will, between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre after the no DQ match that they had, and obviously he was like, fake, right, Soldier Boy? To which Soldier Boy then came back. Well, he also said, which one of your baby mamas do I send the bill to for making you relevant again? Because Orton's such a sassy bastard. But Soldier Boy came back basically and said, I ain't got no baby mamas. Looks like you're the one looking for relevancy. Enough talking, set it up so I can slide on you for the gang. You think shit, sweet, huh? It's so bad me trying to speak this, and make it sound any.
You're so cool right now,
I'm down with the kids. But then he also said WWE scared of me and Randy. They big cap used somebody else's name for ratings. I knew they was too fake to have me. I slapped the shit out of the dude live. You a bitch, Randy Orton, and I mean that 100%. So that's where he left off. And then it was a bit of time had passed, but Orton has actually come back with a reply now, and in very Orton fashion replied with, "My dick is taller than you, and it weighs more too. Go to bed, you fucking infant. You're welcome for the boost.
I love how he kept it really mature.
Go choke on a keyboard." So, yeah, there's still beef.
Is, what I need to really address for me anyway, because they can have this beef, and it might be a work, right? Let's be honest, it might be a work, right? But what I took umbrage to, and I don't know how you felt about this, Carl, but like Soldier Boy trying to suggest that they're using his name for relevancy, it's like, well, wouldn't they pick someone, famous?
Yeah, like Logan Paul.
like Logan Paul or Bad Bunny or Lil Bow Wow, all
someone
three
else.
who are more famous. Like, wouldn't they have done that? Why would they choose to have Randy Orton accost you on social media to gain a following? Like, I haven't looked
Yeah.
into this, but I'm confident Randy Orton's probably got more fame than he has in terms of followers and influence. Could be wrong.
That is an excellent question. To be fair, let me
I'm
do
like,
some Twitter sleuthing.
let's do some recon. So yeah, I'm just a bit perplexed by that. I mean, he obviously, if this leads to some sort of comedic match, then sound it was clearly a work the whole time. But I don't know, man. I doubt it's a work because apparently he's known for being controversial on social media.
So he does actually have more. Orton has got over 6 million, and Soldier Boy has got 5.2 million on Twitter. This is so.
I knew it
Yeah.
the whole time. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, sure. That's made him relevant now. People know who Randy is now.
Yeah. So yeah, WWE love celebrities. That is the news, and WWE like to trash talk celebrities. So great.
I love how all the celebrities coming up now. I'm 100% Vince has never heard of.
Oh yeah, God, no chance.
I reckon
hey.
when they proposed Bad Bunny to him, he was like, "Well, the gobbledygook went down really well, so yes, let's do a bunny." Like, I'm confident he hasn't got a fucking clue.
He's that guy in the rabbit costume, right? That's good shit.
Yeah. So what an interesting one.
What an interesting one.
I wonder if that's going to lead anywhere. Unlikely. The next one, Carl, a little bit of sad news, and one we've kind of already touched on, but earlier this week we received the news via the Road Dogg's wife on social media that sadly the Road Dogg, I'll call him Jesse J. What's his real name, Carl? I feel disrespectful saying
I think it's Brian Armstrong.
Right. So Brian Armstrong, sadly, he's been hospitalized. Anyway. Yeah, and it's suspected to be a heart attack. I think the last update we had from his wife was that he'd be going in for surgery. So it's a quick mention in terms of news, but just obviously our thoughts and prayers are with him and his wife at this time, really, and hopefully everything goes well. Fingers crossed in general.
Yeah, definitely. It's just it's horrible, isn't it? It's he's still relatively young as well, and it's a horrible thing to see so many wrestlers go through, especially someone like Road Dogg, who has kind of just many adored by many people, and he's on a new path in his life as well. Obviously, he's found his faith, and obviously he posts a lot of stuff about that and kind of motivational quotes and things like that on his Twitter. So shame to see it happen to him, and hopefully he just makes a really speedy recovery. I think the surgery was planned for today. I'm not too sure what the surgery is or exactly what it entails, but yeah, hopefully he comes through fine the other side and it gets better real soon.
Indeed.
So the next one to talk about is in relation to the Thunderdome, and effectively we found out some details about the Thunderdome is moving. So as we knew, it's currently in the Amway Centre. No, it isn't. It's in Tropicana Field.
It was in the Amway for a while, wasn't it?
It was in the Amway. It's currently in Tropicana Field, but they have announced that it's now going to be moving to the Yuengling Center in Tampa, in Florida. So the plan is to do that in the post Mania 37 episode of Raw on the 12th of April. So interesting one. I believe it's a bit of a smaller venue, so it only holds a capacity of 10,000. Obviously, the COVID protocols are still going to be in place, so I don't think there's any plans anytime soon for them to revert back to having audience members in the crowd, like a live audience. I know they are doing that for WrestleMania, but I believe post-Mania they're just going to revert back to the Thunderdome, obviously in this new venue. I just can't wait for all this to be over, to be honest, because I fucking hate the Thunderdome with a passion, and we've spoken about this before, and it's a lovely concept and stuff, and I like what they tried to do. It's definitely creative and inventive, but you can't beat a real crowd, no way. And I feel like they've just built upon it and they made it worse and worse with these piped in crowd noises and chants and stuff like that. It just feels so.
I think they're gonna love
phony.
it though. Like, there's such control. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and again, we'll touch on this later, but Edge is turned heel. Let's make sure that everyone knows he's turned heel by piping in some booze. Just
Yeah.
in case people might want to cheer him, we're not going to have any of that. We're just going to have some booze now. It's boss.
I mean,
Such control.
We'll come on to what happened with that anyway, because I'm pissed off about that too. But yeah,
Really?
so yeah,
Okay.
I'm proper pissed off about it. So we'll talk about that.
Okay, I think we might have some sort of disagreement here later on. This one.
Okay.
I really feel this way.
But yeah, so I'm not a big fan of the Thunderdome. Unfortunately, it's going to continue at least up until August. So I believe mid to end of August is when the contract for this new place will run out. So I don't know what the plans are post August. I guess it depends on how everything's going with obviously COVID and getting the live crowds back in a safe way and stuff like that. But looks like we are going to be stuck with the Thunderdome until at least August, and in a potentially smaller and slightly different venue. So interesting to see how that transpires.
Indeed. So the next one, Carl. Lance Storm. I'm kidding. You got the next one.
I got the next one. So this one is around an NXT UK signing. So the belief is that Bobby Tyler has signed with NXT UK, although that hasn't actually been announced by WWE. So
it's interesting how this has come about.
Yeah, people have just kind of picked up on it. So Bobby Tyler actually updated her social kind of handles to become Stevie Turner WWE. So it was kind of like, okay. But then also in her Instagram profile, she lists that she's an NXT UK superstar. So kind of gone under the radar a little bit in terms of WWE haven't actually announced that this has happened. But obviously you would like to think that she isn't just batshit crazy and just put it there herself and she hasn't been signed. So
this'll get them.
Yeah, maybe you've just got Vince going, oh, have you signed her? Okay. And she shows up and gets paid somehow.
How funny would it be to get it like that? Oh, well, we must have. Somebody's slipping these days. Now, it seems that she may have beat WWE to the punch by the looks of it, which doesn't happen very often, but there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I personally don't know too much about her. I know that she was formerly in Stardom, and more recently she had been in Rev Pro. But I believe she was really close with Hana Kimura, who obviously committed suicide last year. So I think that took a bit of a toll on her as well. I know she kind of posts quite regularly. I think she like tag teamed with her when she was over in Stardom. So yeah, I think sounds like a big break for her to actually get into the NXT UK scene, and hopefully it is a proper signing. And yeah, interested to see more. Looks like she's got a good look, and if she, has been doing pretty well for Stardom and stuff like that, then she must have a decent amount of talent. So
yeah, I mean, like you say, I'm in a similar boat to you, where I don't know a lot about her because obviously we spend our time watching the 4 big shows, but it seems that she is really quite popular on the indies. So it looks like it to be a really good signing for WWE, and like you say, a fantastic move for her as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So Carl, the next one I've got. You heard from Aleister Black lately?
No, thank God.
No one has. Now, so obviously, it'll be noticed that Aleister Black hasn't been seen on TV, surprisingly, since October, Carl. When I read that, I was like, wow, it's been that long. So we all remember he sort of went out on a feud with Kevin Owens because Kevin Owens checked he was okay one time. I'm not quite sure how that feud came about.
Well, he was
like that. Like,
he was brooding in a dark room, and he was like, it's my emo time, and so he just went a bit crazy after that.
Yeah. So they've kept him off TV long enough for us to forget that he wore an eye patch for a while. So no one's going to question it when he comes back without an eye patch. I think that's how it's going to go anyway. But
worked fine for Rey Mysterio.
It's been reported that he had been suffering some minor injuries, which is why he'd been out for the length of time he has. And we actually don't know if he's cleared to wrestle or not yet. It's not been confirmed. But rumor has it from PW Insider, I'll name names, that he's actually been seen very recently at the Performance Center over the last several weeks, in fact. So the speculation now is, are we looking at potentially his in-ring 10? Similarly, the suggestion would be that, even though we are seeing him at the Performance Center and the rumor mill's there, it was Paul Heyman who was big on the guy, and I'm not saying other people aren't, but it sounds like creative, other than Paul Heyman, creative weren't as big on him as Paul was. So as it stands currently, they haven't got anything for him. That classic line, nothing for you at the moment. So it doesn't seem like he's going to be back before WrestleMania, but he's obviously getting himself back into condition, let's say, for a return. So we might see him on TV soon enough. Let's say sometime after April, most likely.
Yay!
Yay!
No, I'm not. I haven't been super impressed with him, unfortunately. But you know, I'm willing to be proved wrong.
I was never big on him. I was never I never got the gimmick. Now that's not to say that he wasn't good. It's just I didn't get it. Like, and they're like, what? Why is he rising from the floor? Is he a vampire? What's the outfit? Why is he a pirate now? Why has he started wearing leather? I'm just confused. But you know, some people got it. Some people loved him on NXT. And to be fair, I do say that the booking was a lot poorer when he went to the main roster. But yeah, I must admit, I've never got it gimmick wise.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I guess he needs to try and find, you know, a place that fits in the main roster because yeah, I wasn't impressed with what I saw. And
to be honest, not to linger too long on Alistair and make him surprisingly our longest news article, but like he kind of reminds me of like early days Bray Wyatt in terms of like, yeah, you can cut a good promo, but it kind of like rambling nonsense after a while too. And every promo I saw when especially when he was on the main roster, was like, you're saying a lot without having anything to say, which is strange for me. And obviously Bray's poked fun at that over time, and that's where the Rambling Rabbit character comes from, because Bray knew he was like that, because he would do this whole, you know, the swampy Bray character, and he would talk, and he was a good talker, but sometimes when they were like, just go out and vamp, and he's like, yeah, but I'm not in a feud with anyone, this is just going to be nonsense, and they're like, just do it, it's fine. And it kind of reminds me of that, and maybe it is like a victim of booking, because it's hard to have a decent promo when you kind of not have any focus to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I can just imagine WWE creative going, what if we had like a Bray Wyatt character who thought he was a vampire and sat down and crossed his legs in the ring like CM Punk? That's money. Because that's all he does.
A hybrid of all my favorite things.
So yeah. You know, like thankfully he's not injured or anything like that. You know, if WWE haven't really got anything for him, will we see him come back after Mania? Potentially, but you know, it's whether he can carry the ball. I know, obviously, this is a nice little segue into his real life wife, Selena Vega, in a moment. But yeah, obviously we haven't really seen him much since Selena was let go either. So, since they came to the terms on the release, I don't want to say she was let go. But speaking of Zelina...
They agreed to part ways.
Speaking of Zelina, this is an interesting one. And take it with a pinch of salt, because it's from Uncle Dave. But he has reported that at some point this week, Selena Vega has signed a contract. Now, in typical Dave Meltzer fashion, he knows not with who or what the contract is, but he's speculating it's not with AEW, and there is some kind of clause in this contract that states she will not be allowed to work with any other wrestling promotion. But he also goes on to say that he doesn't know if it's even a wrestling contract. So
has she even reached her 90 days?
Yeah, she must have.
Okay.
Must have by now.
I don't even know it's a wrestling contract. Oh, it turns out it was a lease for a Lexus.
Well, exactly.
Fuck, Dave.
Exactly. All he knows is she signed a contract of some sort. That.
All I know is I saw her holding a pen one time, so she's definitely signed something.
Just creepy Dave in a tree. She's got a pen. She's signing something. So yeah, I don't really know. I believe Tony Khan was very interested in talking with her after she left WWE. So I think a lot of people expected her to rock up there. I think there was even a few rumors that she was going to...
He's just subscribed to her OnlyFans. That's what Tony.
That could be. But I believe there was a few rumours that we might have seen her as the new member of the Inner Circle, which a lot of people kind of were coming up with, and then saying that she would have gone on to manage Santana and Ortiz.
I'm not too keen on that. Let's book her in AEW for a second. Do you really want to put her with people who can already talk?
Well,
it could probably be better for her to be there with some people who aren't that strong on the mic.
Which... You know? Leads me to wonder, has she signed a contract with the likes of Ring of Honor, and maybe that could be where Andrade is headed, because he also is now.
Well, he's definitely got to wait 90 days though, so she might do something before he rocks up.
I don't think he does. I don't know how. I don't know how he's managed to do it, but I
Was
believe...
he actually reached the end of his contract anyway? Like it wasn't like a
No.
early release.
No, it's an early release, but apparently, for some reason, he hasn't got a 90-day clause.
That is like a proper slap in the face from WWE. That's more insulting than the 90-day non-compete. They're like, yeah, do whatever the fuck you want. It's not going to hurt us.
Well, a lot of people were saying it was like, Charlotte's influence and stuff like that, because obviously she's dating him, but I don't know. But it could be a load of shit anyway. But
yeah, because Charlotte's got that much throat. She's going to be like, go on, let him compete for your rivals.
Well, exactly. So who knows? Who knows? But yeah, Selena Vega's apparently signed a contract with someone somewhere at some point in time, and maybe we might possibly see.
Sorry, it was an old image you saw. It was her signing a WWE contract. Bad.
Yeah, could be the case. So yeah, will we potentially see Selena Vega rock up somewhere soon? Maybe, and that's direct from
Dave
Uncle
Meltzer's
Dave.
reported that Selena Vega, who no longer works for WWE, is going to end up working somewhere else at some point in the future. Just it.
May not be for a wrestling company, could be at Starbucks. No one knows. But yeah.
Oh, fucking love. God bless you, Dave. Next one, Carl. And there's about as much fact to this as there was Selena Vega's signing. You look puzzled.
No, I'm just. It's an interesting one. This, I'm intrigued.
Oh, okay. I was like, shit, have I jumped ahead? Because I messed the order up earlier, so anything could happen. This one, I don't know how true it is, because you might have noticed, Carl, because I imagine you've read this as well. There wasn't any actual numbers given. This was like, I had a conversation with someone who said this. So I don't know how true it is, but it's an interesting one to talk about because it surprised me. And that was the fact that, rumour has it, the unsanctioned lights out match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, while it garnered a lot of notoriety and a lot of attention and apparently increased the number of viewers who were male, it actually did the opposite for female viewers, which is insane to me, because I was like, to me, this was like the pinnacle of where women's wrestling is right now, in the sense of like women being able to have this sort of match that the likes of Mick Foley and that were able to have way back when. And like women were not, unless you're going to get you're going to run around in your underwear, you're not going to be on TV. That was the kind of approach they used to have. Like the fact that they can have such a hardcore match, I thought was like, that just blew my mind compared to like what we were used to in the Attitude Era. And I was like, that's good. I know some people don't like the sort of the grim element of it, and some people would argue like you shouldn't have hardcore matches at all in this day and age. But the reality of it is, for me, if this is true and it's detracted viewers, that is so fucking sad. Like not me trying to like insult you, sado. I mean, like, it's sad. It's upsetting, because like how many hardcore matches have AEW had, and we've not had a single comment like that. We've had Moxley going up against Omega like the first time, which was hardcore as anything. We've had Moxley and Omega doing that barbed wire deathmatch thing. We've had plenty of things where it's been really hardcore. We've had that it wasn't deliberate, but Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy just bloodying each other up constantly through their feud, and it's like no one batted an eye, except obviously the Matt Hardy concussion thing was a bit of a talking point. But in terms of the actual hardcore match element, no one batted an eye, and it was good stuff, and it was cool, it was edgy. And then the minute you get two badass women do it, which I was totally fucking impressed with, by the way, it's like, oh no, that's put me off. I don't like that, no. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, I thought we'd got past this shit.
It is super bizarre. I'm going to make a very sweeping assumption here. I don't know whether it turned some of the women watchers away because they didn't want to see the blood and violence. So maybe they love women's wrestling, but they just didn't want to see the fact that it was a hardcore match, because Thunder was busted early, Britt was super busted. But
similarly, though, I'd be curious to know where they turned off equally by the men's matches.
Well, exactly. So I just don't think people have made, looked into it in that way. Like, it's very, because it was a women's main event and the first women's main event, people are obviously looking for what the women's demos were. Whereas I don't think it would be scrutinized as much for male hardcore matches.
You can totally fuck around with numbers all you like. That's a really good point, to be honest. Like,
that's what I do for my job.
People want to skew a certain narrative. They will, and straight away I've jumped on that narrative and gone, women fans can't even enjoy women's matches, and I've jumped on that sort of aim of the article, I suppose. But you make a good point. It's like, it's not that it weren't putting them off the other matches. It's just that it weren't mentioned.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You know.
So
yeah, I take your point, and I'll eat some humble pie on that and go, well, yeah, fair enough. It's clearly a narrative from the article in some respects as well.
Yeah, but I think, to your point, it's a very fair question to ask. Like, is anyone going to look into how the demos are affected for other hardcore matches to see whether it's a common trend? Because it's interesting that the male viewership would go up, and I know a lot of men are big advocates of women's wrestling anyway in today's modern era, and obviously a lot of the men kind of love the hardcore matches, don't they? So that kind of makes sense. But the only thing I can kind of clutch onto any straws with is the fact that it was a hardcore match, and maybe the blood or like the thumbtacks and like the nature of it could have turned some of the female audience away. But again, that's a sweeping assumption or a sweeping statement on my part. I'd love to see some stats behind it.
Definitely. I mean, you're a stats nerd, so you definitely would.
I would. I'm going to make it the bar chart, damn it.
But yeah, no, I think I take your point on that. It's hard to sort of to delve too deep without without more information. But I mean, I thought it was a banger of a match, and the fact that any view is reduced is a shame. But like you say, there could have been reasons. There could be people who normally tune out for that sort of thing. So
agreed.
Who knows, man?
Hell of a match. It was our match of the week last week.
Definitely.
So good. So good. And the final one, Anthony, to talk about is just a little congratulations to friend of the show, former guest, Griff Garrison, who announced on his Twitter a couple of days ago that he has proposed to his longtime girlfriend, Franny, and she has accepted, and they are now engaged. So he left a very lovely message just saying that, it's to be able to spend the rest of his life with someone that he loves is the greatest blessing that he could have ever received. So he's really excited for her to take his last name, so she can be Who the Fuck is Mrs. Garrison now, and it'd be fantastic. So yeah, just
Defo, like now made up for them both.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I guess
proper congratulations, guys.
Griff, Franny,
as is customary, whiskey for this one
on the show. Big cheers to you both, and congratulations. And that, Anthony, was the Ringside Report.
Yeah.
And we'll be back with some more crazy hijinks after this little video.
Some noise.
You're watching or listening
to A to the K.
The A2theK.
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 These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.